Hey guys, Joe Madden, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast here. I'm joined by Gabriel Morency here of Sports Grid TV, Sports Grid Radio, seen on Sirius XM. Gabriel, how's your day going?
I'm doing all right, Joe. It's always a pleasure. How you doing? You ready to rock? You ready for a big game tonight?
Damn, I am so excited for this game, but so nervous. I hope you have some good things to say about my Calgary Flames here. This is going to be a terrifying game for Calgary.
I really don't have anything nice to say about the Calgary Flames. And I had a lot of belief in this team coming into the playoffs. I thought they were built for the playoffs, but we're seeing they've got a lot of problems right now. Quite frankly, they're getting outclassed by the Edmonton Oilers. And I think the Flames should worry less about running their mouths and trying to hit the Edmonton Oilers. And you just go down the list of everything that's happened in this series. And Edmonton are just a faster, quicker, better team. There's so many things wrong with Calgary right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to fix this in a shortened time. Number one, Connor McDavid is the best player on the ice. Number two, Connor McDavid is the second best player on the ice. The third best player on the ice is Leon Draisaitl. The fourth best player on the ice has been Evander Kane. Like if we go if we want to actually, and all kidding aside, as far as Connor being, number one and number two, but all kidding aside, if we actually look who the best players been in this series, it's nobody on Calgary. Nobody. No. What the hell has Tkachuk done besides piss Evander Kane off? And I tell you what, you can joke about his bankruptcy issues all you freaking want. He keeps scoring hat tricks on you guys. Who's winning the battle right there? Talking about, well, if I really want to hurt Mike Smith, well, whatever, bro. No one cares about your tough guy act right now.
Yeah.
And listen, this is coming from someone that bet on the Flames to win the Western Conference, but I don't see it happening right now, Joe. I mean, I don't even know how they're going to win this series. I'm going to bet on them tonight one last time because this is the kitchen sink game. Their season is on the line. They're not going to win the series if they lose this game tonight. We all know that. They've been good at showing resiliency, Joe, but just from a mental standpoint, I don't like where they're at. They're more worried about the chirp game. I've seen this a lot over the years with the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens where, the Bruins were often a better team and the Canadiens were able to get under the Bruins' skin. Then the Bruins are more concerned with just injuring guys on the Canadiens as the series goes on. I almost see it as sort of the same thing. Defensively, they have big problems. They can't keep anybody in front of them. The Oilers keep getting behind them. And this surprises me as well, Joe, in closing here, is that Markstrom has been average and not even average. He hasn't been that good. And he's a great goalie, but he's being outplayed by Mike Smith as well. So, no, I don't have a lot of good news, but I think they can win tonight.
Never good news when you say anyone's being outplayed by Mike Smith, that's for sure, because we all know he's had his ups and downs, definitely having some great games here.
He doesn't get the credit he deserves. You know what I mean? Like, people in Edmonton for years have always talked about the goalie. Yeah. He's one player on the team, Joe, and their defense suck. All right, yeah. They give up way too many scoring opportunities, but they've done a good job. And I'm telling you, I think all this rivalry has brought out the best in Edmonton right now. There's a saying in sports, Joe, and it's actually a pretty true one as far as cliches are concerned, in which big players make big plays in big games. Absolutely. Where are the big plays? Where are the big players? Where's Johnny Hockey at? Where's Johnny Gaudreau at? Nowhere to be found. He
fell apart last game.
Yeah, he doesn't. Where's the desire? Honestly, I hate to say it, sort of look at the Florida Panthers, and they got outworked by the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Calgary Flames are getting outworked. They're getting out everything. They're getting out coached. They're getting out goaltended. They're getting outscored. They're not even playing as good as defense as the Edmonton Oilers are right now, which is a problem. But just quickly about Smith. Look, he makes a mistake, and people blame him for them, sucking for the last 30 years or whatever. And then he stands on his head. He pitches shutouts, or he makes great saves when the team is down or only up by a goal. He doesn't really get the credit. But, Mike Smith would be my first choice, Joe, between the pipes. But let's give the guy credit. He's been great in this series.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This series has been absolutely phenomenal for him. I really do think he has another great game tonight, but hoping Calgary can find a way to get the win. Cause like you said, it's do or die here. If Calgary goes down, they're not coming back and winning it at home and finishing this series off in any fashion. Do you think the Edmonton Oilers have a chance of beating the Colorado Avalanche moving on? if
Yes,
that's
I
where we
do.
see.
I think
Okay.
at this point, I think we do. Listen, Colorado are really good. I've always sort of looked at Colorado, Joe, sort of like the Oilers or like
Yep.
the Toronto Maple Leafs in the sense. I've always thought they're a little bit overrated. That, it's been 4 years now. This is the fourth year. So it looks like they're about to do this in advance. But it's been 3 years in a row coming into this year, Joe, which they cruised in the first round and then lose in the second round. Yep. They haven't gotten to the conference finals before. So they sort of have to prove it, but they're showing an extra gear right now that they have that other teams do not have. And I see something with the Flames actually as well, that same thing happened to my Toronto Raptors. You see it with the Utah Jazz. In sports, sometimes you'll see in a regular season, teams will win more games than not because they're better coached, right? Like a coach like Sutter, a coach like Nick, like the Raptors, and you look at Sutter, they show up every night, Joe, right, in the regular season. They don't mail games in. They're well coached. They play hard. Not everybody in the league can say that. And when it gets to the playoffs, everybody is showing up. And suddenly talent does matter, right? Talent freaking matters in the playoffs. I don't care what sport we're talking about. And so a lot of these teams, they don't have that next level. They have a regular season level that's better than yours, right? But when it's like, okay, we've got to raise it up a notch now, they don't have it. They don't have that skill. They don't have that star. We see it with the Raptors all the time in the playoffs. That was the difference when they had Kawhi Leonard. They had somebody that, just put him over the top. They had that star factor. And quite frankly, you're seeing this right now with Calgary, in which, like, who's that guy that can say, listen, I know we're down 2-0, but don't worry about this. I got this. I'm going to wreak havoc on this game for the next 5 minutes.
And we're not seeing it. We're not seeing anyone step up. And that's what I have to give Connor McDavid hats off to, because I've always looked at him in years past where they have got down, and I've called him a crybaby in some situations. We're not seeing that this season. We're seeing him really maturing into an incredible leader for his team.
You know what it is? It's a good point. And it's a similar situation with Kadri, in which you saw Kadri didn't bite. He didn't take the bait last night, and he would have in the past. People mature. Except me. People mature as they get older in life. And I think with McDavid as well, he's just so focused, Joe, on what he has to do. I think he understands I don't control the outside world. I don't control the pressure that's on me. I don't control, all right, I'm not going to complain to the referees about everything all the time. I'm just going to go out there and create my own destiny. And that's what he's doing right now. And you know what? This is some special stuff. I hate comparing this guy to that guy and these players and stuff, but I got to tell you, Joe, and I was around and I saw it. In fact, my uncle played on the Edmonton Oilers, and you figure out to have a big sentimental attachment to them or something, and I don't. I've got none. So, but with that being stated, man, if Connor McDavid played in the 80s, this guy would have 138 goals.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he would.
Like, if Gretzky played now, he'd get injured and he probably wouldn't make the team because they say he's too skinny and he's too small, right? But if Connor McDavid played, it'd be unbelievable. This guy is special, but you got to win to be special, Joe, and he's on the verge of doing something special right now. Very similar to the Canadiens and the Leafs last year, in which this will carry over for a long time, right? Like the Oilers have had success. Being in Calgary, it's important. Like Edmonton can get swept in the next series, but they're always going to have the fact, we beat the Flames, right?
31 years getting to this point, right?
Is a fan, and you don't, so they win.
Exactly. Do you think we really saw a change in Connor McDavid when Evander Kane joined the team? Because when I look at the series the season overall, I really did see a light switch go off on him then.
I think that maybe Evander Kane's sort of toughness or attitude, swagger. You need guys in a room that basically you wouldn't hang around with in a social setting, Joe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Pinball Clemens, one of the nicest guys in the world, right? Big Christian, might have been Pinball Clemens. He once said, quite frankly, you need a couple of cons in the room. You need a couple of tough guys. Yeah. And I'm not saying Evander Kane's that guy, but it's almost like, wow, it just. And I think it's sort of this Luka Doncic thing a little bit, that Connor has guys he believes in, right? He knows right? This guy's good, man. Like, this guy, like I don't have to worry about him. You know what I mean? Like, in the past, I think Connor, he's not going to say it publicly, but he's probably thinking, dear God, man, if Zach would just play better, man, or if these guys could freaking be better, you know what I mean? Maybe I could do something here. Yeah. But he knows, wow, this guy's good, right? And it's just sort of that confidence. And listen, we all questioned Evander Kane signing with Edmonton, wondering about the chemistry. And without him, they're not where they are right now. Let's call it out for what it is. The series isn't done, Joe. Series isn't done. Calgary did a good job of being resilient and bouncing back. But and one thing any hockey player will tell you, there's no momentum in the playoffs from one game to another. It doesn't mean what happened. And now it's irrelevant. But it just seems like this thing is snowballed right now. And quite frankly, Edmonton looked like the better team. But with all that being stated, I'm betting on the Flames tonight. If they don't win tonight, that's done. Like, I'm not going to be laying juice when I go back home and all this. They need to win this game tonight. I think they can.
Yeah, I hear you. I believe it's do or die, even though it really isn't for this series, but it is for them mentally in this one. What about the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers tonight? Any thoughts on this game? I'm personally going to be riding with the Rangers. I think they can get it done. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the Rangers coming into this series. They were plus 172 underdogs. I was pretty much in the minority for the most part. Carolina are a trendy team.
Yeah.
Carolina, to me, they're not quite Florida because, Carolina are tougher, right? I'm more of a fan of teams that play more of a defensive style in the playoffs. But if you look at who's left right now, Colorado, Edmonton, Carolina, the Rangers are really the only team that really want to shut everything down that are still alive right now. But with that being stated, this series, if this was a UFC fight or this is like we played 3 rounds out of the 3 games, even though Carolina are up 2-1, Joe, the Rangers have been the better team. The Rangers were the better team in game 1. They blew it with 2 minutes left. They lose in overtime. Game 2 was a complete toss-up. Carolina will give them the advantage. They won the game. They were a little bit better, but it was a complete toss-up. Then you go back to New York, and the Rangers were significantly better. Carolina have not won a road game in the playoffs yet this year. They lost all 3 in Boston. They lose the one at MSG. And let's be real. If you look at Boston, that was a vulnerable Boston team, Joe. And basically, they're an older team. They had questionable goaltending. They only really have one line. And you saw Carolina got all that they can handle, okay? Carolina are good. They are good. I'm not saying Carolina are about to implode or they're overrated or anything like that, even though I don't think they can beat Tampa after. They are good, but they're not great. There's not a big room for margin for error for the Carolina Hurricanes. And to me, the Rangers, we talked about being built for the playoffs. And look at, once again, Joe, big players make big plays in big games. Why did the Rangers win the other day?
Shesterkin
played great. Yeah. Chris Kreider scored. Cinnabad scored. You know what I mean? Like, our best players did what they had to do, and our role players, your role players better show up. Yeah. I'm not going to pat a guy on the back for making $3-4 million a year, playing on the 3rd or 4th line and playing well. Sort of like Andrew Wiggins right now. People want to build this guy a statue, Joe. I don't know.
He did his job. He did his job. Like, come on.
He's doing his job. I mean, he's actually doing. I mean, people are like, oh, it's unbelievable. He's giving us 18 and 10. It's like, he is making $32 million a year, right?
Absolutely. We expect that out of him.
But I like the Rangers. It's going to be close, Joe. This game, like I said, it could go to overtime. It's going to be a toss-up and go either way. But I think there's good value with the Rangers in the series. If you like the Rangers tonight, you got to take the Rangers at plus 250 in the series because that's what it is right now.
Yeah, and then if you do like it to go to overtime tonight, it's plus 290 to go to overtime. Are you looking at a higher or lower scoring game in this one? I think we stayed to the trends of the under. The total is set now at 5.5.
Yeah, I'm a big under better when it comes to hockey. Different sports, I'll bet overs or unders or whatever, but I'm more of an under better when it comes to the NHL. We've done pretty well right now, but the 5.5 scare me. With the empty netters and coaches take goalies out so much now. But this is the one series, Joe, where it's just so hard to score. And we're seeing, listen, Carolina's getting good goaltending too.
Absolutely.
So I would be leaning with the under as well, even though it's 5.5. And I'm a big fan of these alt line plays. They're basically hockey teasers. So if the total's 5.5, let's make it 7.5 and parlay it with with the over in the Flames game. Like, look, the other night is a good example. Everybody was sweating out the total. Yeah. I had it down to 4.5, Joe, in an all-line parlay. I was sweating it out, but it got there. So I would lean the under 5.5. Yes, with the Rangers Canes tonight.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me here, Gabriel. I'm not going to keep you too much longer because I promised you a shorter show. Can you let everyone know where to find you on socials and where to hit you up for all of your shows that you have going on?
Well, it's very simple. Just follow me on Twitter at Sports Rage. And I was thinking about setting up a TikTok and LinkedIn this week. I've been saying that for a long time. I'm like, I really should be on these things. And I just don't get to it. But find me on Twitter at Sports Rage. I'm on weekdays at 6 o'clock Eastern, Sirius XM channel 159 Sports Grid Radio and television networks. We're on 1 million television affiliates around America. And then we're back at midnight Eastern for Sports Rage on Sirius XM channel 159 Sports Grid Radio networks.
Well, you are absolutely crushing it. Love everything you are doing in your space. So keep up all the great work. And thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast, well. If I can talk.
Yeah, keep up the grind there, Joe. Great stuff. Good luck to the Flames tonight. I'm going to have money on them. So let's hopefully they show up tonight. I think they will.
I have money on them too, so it's going to be a double burn if they don't show up, but I do think they will as well, Gabriel. Thank you, you guys. I'll be back at the top of the hour for another Joe Madden Sports Podcast.